Jay-Z shocks the courtroom by accusing P. Diddy of orchestrating Will Smith's murder, unveiling a dark rivalry behind the spotlight. The world was stunned when news broke of Will Smith's sudden and mysterious death. The beloved actor and musician, known for his charismatic presence both on-screen and in the studio, had left fans grieving and the entertainment industry shaken to its core. Rumors swirled around the circumstances of his passing: accident, illness, or something far darker. Whispers of foul play began to spread, but no one dared speak openly. Among those closest to Will was Jay-Z, his longtime friend and fellow icon of hip-hop and business. In private moments, Jay-Z had voiced his suspicions that Will's death was no tragic accident. Tensions had been rising behind the scenes for months, fueled by deepening rivalries and old wounds between Will and one man, P. Diddy. As the world mourned, Jay-Z prepared to shatter the silence. In a gripping public statement, he vowed to expose the truth and hold those responsible accountable. The entertainment world held its breath, awaiting what could become one of the most explosive revelations in music and film history. The stage was set for a confrontation that would pull back the curtain on a world of power, betrayal, and secrets, where friendship and rivalry collide, and the cost of fame can be deadly. The moment Jay-Z stepped up to the microphone, the room fell into a tense hush. Cameras flashed, capturing every determined glance, every measured word. It was no ordinary press conference. It was a declaration that would shake the entertainment world to its core. Jay-Z, known not only as a hip-hop legend, but also a shrewd businessman, leveled a stunning accusation. P. Diddy had orchestrated the murder of Will Smith. The revelation sent shockwaves through the media and industry insiders alike. Jay-Z's voice was calm, but resolute as he painted a picture of escalating tensions between Will Smith and P. Diddy. It wasn't just a feud over music or movies. It was a deeply personal conflict, rooted in betrayal, jealousy, and fierce competition for control of the entertainment empire. According to Jay-Z, the rivalry began years ago, when Will, transitioning into music and expanding his influence, started encroaching on territory traditionally dominated by Diddy. What started as subtle competition quickly spiraled into open hostility, fueled by business disputes, conflicting alliances, and public jabs disguised as casual remarks. Behind the scenes, the atmosphere grew toxic. Jay-Z revealed that in the months leading up to Will's death, things had taken a dangerous turn. There were threats whispered in private rooms, mysterious warnings delivered to Will's inner circle, and a mounting sense of unease that something catastrophic was imminent. Jay-Z insisted that the world needed to know the truth. Will's death was not an accident, but the result of a calculated move to eliminate a rival. The media frenzy that followed was unprecedented. Investigative journalists scoured every detail of Will's final days, piecing together a timeline of events that painted a troubling portrait. Sources close to the situation spoke of heated arguments, last-minute meetings, and an increasing paranoia that gripped Will's camp. The whispers of conspiracy grew louder. At the heart of the storm was P. Diddy, a man who had long wielded immense power in the industry. Jay-Z's accusations struck at the core of Diddy's carefully cultivated image as a mogul and cultural icon. The idea that he might be involved in something so dark and sinister seemed almost unfathomable to many. Yet the weight of the evidence Jay-Z presented demanded serious consideration. Legal experts weighed in on the case, noting the complexity of proving such charges against a figure of Diddy's stature. They warned of the challenges ahead: powerful legal teams, potential witness intimidation, and the murky waters of entertainment industry politics. But Jay-Z was undeterred. His goal was not just to seek justice for Will, but to expose the dangerous undercurrents threatening the entire culture. As the investigation gained momentum, more voices emerged. Insiders who had long lived in the shadow of this rivalry began to speak out. Some offered corroborating accounts of the toxic environment, while others hinted at secret deals and hidden alliances that had kept the truth buried. It became clear that this was not just a personal vendetta, but a battle for control over an empire. Jay-Z's public stance inspired a wave of support from fans, artists, and fellow industry figures. Many praised his courage, recognizing the risks involved in taking on one of the most powerful men in entertainment. Yet, with the spotlight now glaring fiercely, threats and attempts to discredit Jay-Z also surfaced, signaling the high stakes of this confrontation. The trial, when it finally commenced, was set to be one of the most watched and scrutinized legal battles in history. It promised to unveil a tapestry of greed, loyalty, betrayal, and ambition, all set against the backdrop of fame and fortune. Jay-Z's testimony would be the opening salvo in a courtroom drama that would captivate the world. Behind the scenes, P. Diddy and his team prepared their defense, vehemently denying all allegations. They painted Jay-Z as a jealous rival, seeking to tarnish Diddy's legacy. The tension between the two titans of the industry reached a boiling point, with every move watched and every word analyzed. For Jay-Z, this was more than a fight for justice. It was a personal crusade to honor a fallen friend and to challenge a system that too often protected the powerful at the expense of the truth. His resolve was unwavering, knowing that the road ahead would be fraught with danger, but convinced that justice must prevail. The world watched, waiting to see which side would prevail in a battle that promised to change the face of entertainment forever. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as the trial entered its second phase. The media frenzy showed no signs of slowing, with every revelation and testimony dissected by experts and fans alike. Inside those walls, the stakes couldn't have been higher. Jay-Z was no longer just a vocal accuser. He was a key witness, ready to lay bare the hidden truths surrounding Will Smith's death and the dark machinations behind it. Jay-Z took the stand with a calm yet commanding presence. He recounted his friendship with Will Smith, painting a picture of a man whose brilliance extended far beyond the screen and studio. He spoke candidly about the escalating tensions with P. Diddy, describing a rivalry that had evolved into something far more dangerous and personal than the public ever imagined. The rapper detailed a series of incidents that marked the deterioration of the relationship between Will and Diddy. From heated confrontations at industry events to backroom negotiations that turned sour, Jay-Z provided a timeline that traced the growing animosity. He spoke of whispered threats that Will had confided to him, concerns about his safety that now seemed chillingly prophetic. The prosecution presented evidence of financial transactions and secret meetings linking P. Diddy to shadowy figures with questionable backgrounds. These connections painted a picture of a calculated orchestration, one that went beyond mere rivalry and into the realm of criminal conspiracy. Documents surfaced showing payments made to intermediaries suspected of carrying out illicit activities. Witnesses were called to testify, former associates, security personnel, and industry insiders who corroborated Jay-Z's account of a toxic environment rife with intimidation and coercion. Some described seeing heated exchanges between Diddy and unknown men in private, late-night meetings held in undisclosed locations. Others spoke of a pervasive culture of silence, where fear kept many from speaking out. One particularly gripping testimony came from a former bodyguard who claimed to have overheard conversations hinting at plans to remove obstacles in the entertainment world. The guard described being pressured to stay silent, but chose to come forward, detailing moments when Will Smith had expressed fear for his life. His testimony sent a ripple of shock through the courtroom. Throughout the proceedings, P. Diddy's defense team aggressively challenged the credibility of witnesses and the authenticity of evidence. They portrayed the accusations as a vendetta, suggesting Jay-Z sought to manipulate public opinion and gain leverage in ongoing business disputes. Lawyers questioned Jay-Z's motives, attempting to undermine his standing and paint him as a jealous rival. Yet, despite the defense's efforts, cracks began to show. More whistleblowers came forward, emboldened by Jay-Z's courage and the growing public support. Revelations about bribery, threats, and cover-ups painted a troubling picture of power, wielded without accountability. Allegations surfaced of manipulated media coverage and efforts to silence dissenting voices within the industry. Behind closed doors, tensions ran high. Jay-Z faced intense pressure, not just from legal battles, but from threats to his personal safety and that of those close to him. Despite this, he remained steadfast, supported by a coalition of artists and advocates demanding justice and transparency. As the trial progressed, the courtroom drama intensified. Moments of confrontation between Jay-Z and Diddy's legal team sparked fierce debates. The atmosphere was electric. Every question and answer weighed heavily, every piece of evidence dissected for its impact. The jury was left grappling with a labyrinth of testimonies and documents, trying to unravel truth from strategy. Public opinion was deeply divided. Fans of both men took sides, fueling social media battles and heated discussions. The entertainment industry found itself at a crossroads, with sponsors and partners reconsidering their associations. The scandal exposed uncomfortable truths about the intersection of fame, power, and corruption. For Jay-Z, the fight was deeply personal. Beyond the courtroom, he sought to honor Will Smith's memory by shedding light on the darker forces that too often go unnoticed in the world of celebrity. His testimony was not only a call for justice, but a plea for change, an appeal to dismantle the toxic systems that prioritize power over humanity. As Part 2 of the trial drew to a close, the courtroom was left with a sobering sense of gravity. The evidence laid bare a world of hidden dealings, betrayals, and the high price paid by those who dared to challenge the status quo. The battle was far from over, but the path toward truth had been irrevocably set. The courtroom was thick with tension as Part 3 of the trial unfolded, drawing deeper into the labyrinth of secrets and lies that surrounded Will Smith's death. New evidence emerged, and the battle between Jay-Z and P. Diddy's camps escalated to new heights, turning the courtroom into a battleground where every word could tip the scales of justice. Jay-Z took the stand again, this time shifting focus from the broad strokes of rivalry to the intimate, painful details of his friendship with Will. He spoke of late-night conversations, moments of vulnerability where Will expressed fears about his safety. Those private talks now carried the weight of ominous prophecy. Jay-Z's voice cracked with emotion as he recalled how Will confided in him about feeling increasingly isolated and targeted. The prosecution unveiled a trove of communications, text messages, emails, and phone recordings that revealed a web of collusion and conspiracy. These communications suggested that P. Diddy had leveraged his vast network to monitor Will's movements and orchestrate a plan to silence him permanently. One particularly damning piece was a series of encrypted messages discussing neutralizing a threat, which experts testified were coded references to Will Smith. Witness after witness painted a picture of an entertainment empire rife with corruption. A former industry insider testified about a secret meeting where P. Diddy allegedly ordered that problems be taken care of, hinting at his involvement in darker dealings beyond music and business. Another witness described how threats were used to keep artists and executives in line, ensuring loyalty through fear rather than respect. The defense team responded with fierce attacks on the credibility of these witnesses. They painted them as disgruntled former employees or opportunists seeking to cash in on the sensational trial. P. Diddy's lawyers worked tirelessly to discredit the evidence, calling into question the authenticity of the messages and the motives of those testifying against their client. But cracks in the defense's armor began to show. The prosecutor presented forensic experts who authenticated the communications and digital footprints linking Diddy to the encrypted messages. The courtroom gasped as video surveillance footage was played, captured at discrete locations. that showed members of Diddy's entourage shadowing Will Smith in the days before his death. Jay-Z's resolve grew stronger as he faced the intense cross-examinations. He maintained his composure, fueled by the memory of his lost friend and the urgency of seeking justice. Outside the courtroom, supporters rallied, their voices echoing the demand for truth and accountability in an industry often cloaked in secrecy. Tensions rose further when a surprise witness was called, a former close associate of P. Diddy, who had turned whistleblower. Their testimony was explosive, revealing internal power struggles and confirming allegations that P. Diddy had authorized covert operations to undermine rivals, including Will Smith. The witnesses' detailed account of clandestine meetings and threats sent shockwaves through the trial and the media. The defense, scrambling to contain the fallout, pushed back with aggressive legal maneuvers. They sought to exclude certain pieces of evidence, filed motions to delay proceedings, and launched a media campaign to sway public opinion. The courtroom drama spilled into the public arena, with social media ablaze and headlines dominated by every twist and turn. As the days wore on, the jury was inundated with a deluge of information, complex testimonies, technical forensic reports, and emotional appeals. The line between truth and deception blurred, challenging jurors to navigate a maze of competing narratives. Behind the scenes, Jay-Z's personal life felt the strain. The constant spotlight, coupled with threats against him and his family, tested his endurance. Yet, his determination never wavered. He met privately with advocates and fellow artists, building a coalition aimed at demanding systemic reform in the industry. The trial had become more than a legal battle. It was a reckoning. The entertainment world watched as one of its most powerful figures was held accountable, and a culture of silence was shattered. Jay-Z's testimony and the mounting evidence threatened to rewrite the rules of an industry long dominated by unchecked power. As Part 3 drew to a close, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. The revelations had peeled back layers of deception, revealing a brutal fight for control and survival. The next chapters promised even deeper insights, and the looming question, would justice finally be served? The atmosphere in the courtroom shifted as Part 4 began, moving beyond the tangled web of conspiracy and into the deeply personal. Jay-Z's testimony took on a new tone, less about accusations and more about the profound human cost of the conflict that had claimed Will Smith's life. Jay-Z spoke candidly about his friendship with Will, sharing stories that revealed the man behind the celebrity. He described Will as a loyal friend, a passionate artist, and someone who carried immense pressure with grace. Yet beneath that strength was vulnerability, a fear that something dark was closing in on him. The rapper recounted one of their final conversations, a late-night phone call filled with worry and uncertainty. Will confided that he felt surrounded by enemies and questioned who he could truly trust. Jay-Z's voice wavered as he relived the pain of hearing a friend so consumed by fear. This was the human tragedy at the heart of the trial. As emotions swelled, the courtroom felt the weight of loss in a way that transcended legal arguments. Jay-Z's words gave the jury, and the world, a glimpse into the emotional toll of power struggles hidden behind the entertainment industry's glittering surface. Meanwhile, new evidence was introduced, security footage from a private event held days before Will's death. The video showed Will in a tense exchange with an unidentified figure believed to be connected to P. Diddy's inner circle. The confrontation was brief but intense, confirming suspicions that threats had escalated beyond veiled warnings. The prosecution pressed this evidence hard, framing it as the final piece linking Diddy to a direct motive and opportunity. The defense, strained by the emotional impact, scrambled to offer alternative explanations, suggesting the encounter was coincidental and unrelated to the tragedy. The courtroom erupted in quiet gasps as medical experts testified about the forensic details of Will's death. The analysis suggested that Will's demise was not accidental, but the result of a carefully planned and executed attack. The doctors described injuries and circumstances inconsistent with any natural cause, lending grim credence to Jay-Z's claims. Jay-Z's testimony also revealed the toll the trial had taken on him personally. He admitted moments of doubt and exhaustion, but underscored his commitment to justice for Will. His resolve resonated with many, painting a picture of a man driven not by revenge, but by a profound sense of responsibility. Outside the courtroom, the public responded with a mixture of empathy and outrage. Vigils for Will Smith turned into rallies demanding accountability in the entertainment industry. Artists, fans, and activists rallied behind Jay-Z, viewing the trial as a critical moment in confronting abuse of power. Inside, the tension between the two sides reached a crescendo. P. Diddy's defense, once confident, now faced the daunting task of countering a wave of emotional and forensic evidence. The trial was no longer just about legal technicalities. It had become a moral battleground. As Part 4 closed, the judge reminded all present of the gravity of their responsibilities. The jurors, burdened with the task of delivering a verdict, sat in solemn reflection. The courtroom was thick with anticipation and the unspoken understanding that the outcome would reverberate far beyond the legal realm. Jay-Z's final words echoed as he stepped down from the stand, a plea for justice, for truth, and for a reckoning that could change the industry forever. The fight for Will Smith's legacy had become a fight for the soul of entertainment itself. The courtroom grew heavy with anticipation as the jury returned, their faces grave yet resolute. After weeks of painstaking testimony, revelations, and emotional pleas, the verdict was delivered. P. Diddy was found guilty of orchestrating the murder of Will Smith. The announcement rippled like thunder through the entertainment industry and beyond, breaking the silence around a case that had gripped the world. Jay-Z stood quietly, the weight of victory tempered by the loss of his friend. The courtroom, filled with spectators, media, and industry figures, seemed to hold its breath. This verdict wasn't just about justice for Will. It was a powerful statement against the culture of fear and control that had long dominated behind the scenes. Outside, thousands gathered in support, holding vigils and demanding systemic change in the entertainment world. Artists, fans, and advocates saw the verdict as a beacon of hope, proof that even the most powerful could be held accountable. Jay-Z's voice, when he finally spoke, carried the depth of pain and resolve. He dedicated the victory to Will's memory and called for ongoing vigilance to protect those who dared to speak truth. This trial, he said, was just the beginning of a much-needed reckoning. As P. Diddy was led away, the world watched a once untouchable figure brought low by the pursuit of justice. The legacy of Will Smith would endure, not only for his art, but as a symbol of courage, friendship, and the fight for truth in a world that often prefers silence.